Goeiedag! Good day, fellow South Africans. And you know, it's wonderful when people share their stories with this channel. And there were two stories that were in the comments, and I do try and go through all the comments every day, and believe me, it takes hours, but I do try. Because there's some very valuable information, and I can get back to people and get the email address if they're looking for help or whatever. So it is a form of communication. Now, I received today in the comments two long comments which are worth repeating, because it really gives you the insight of what's happening to real people in South Africa. You know, these are people who've lived in South Africa. This has been their experience, and the world needs to know what is happening in that country. It is absolutely terrible. Okay. Sylvia wrote, "Hi Scott, my husband and I were hijacked in front of our house at 1 o'clock in the morning when he pulled out of the driveway on his way to take me to hospital in a crisis when I had so much pain. 3 black guys pulled out guns and hit my husband on the head with the butt of the gun, pulled me out of the car. Luckily, I managed to hide, our entrance remote, so when they rushed off with my husband's car, we were able to get into our property and alert the police. No neighbors came out to help us, and the police took almost an hour to get there. We were never offered any trauma help or any other help. We got our car back the next day. Our tracking company that we belonged to found it in a shopping mall. My handbag and its contents and all my nightwear were gone. Thank goodness we were able to afford insurance back then. Now that we are pensioners, my husband has been retrenched because of BEE and the company. Things have really changed. My daughter and her family have gone to Amsterdam. We can no longer see our only grandchild. He will be 11 years old in a few days' time. And we are going to miss his birthday for the first time. It's heartbreaking. We live in such a beautiful country. Why harm the land and their owners? Let the government give all the land they have stolen from the state and taxpayers for the past 25 years. Get the money back that they have taken out of South Africa and bought properties overseas and lined their pockets and their families' pockets, and pay our policemen and nurses and pensions better, and build houses for South African black and white people. We pray for our people, black and white." And that's the tragedy, you know. The tragedy is that you've got this black privilege. Yeah, the parasites right at the top. The Zumas, the Ramaphosas, the Malemas, the VBS Bank, to name one casualty. They're all on the take. And yet they try and suggest there's white privilege. Well, the difference between white privilege, and there are very few people in South Africa who can be put in that category, they've earned it. The difference is with black privilege, it's parasites. They're just climbing in and just milking the whole system dry. That's where the difference lies. Now, getting back to the second person who put her story in the comments, and thank you, I really appreciate this. She wrote, "Hi from Austria. My son and I escaped to Europe 3 years ago because it was impossible for us to survive in South Africa, both physically and financially. And we're not even white. We live in a nice, decent area still. My then teenage son was attacked by 2 adults, black men, for his phone, which they stole. Luckily, someone came out of the house when they heard my son screaming, or he might not be here alive today. The last straw was when a group of black men came to our house 3 nights in a row trying to break in, while we were in the house, and knowing that we were at home, to steal who knows what, as we weren't rich, and probably kill us. After that, my son, who is European, said, "Mum, that's it, I can't live here anymore," and he left within 6 months. I followed 1.5 years later when we could manage it. We are still struggling our butts off to survive financially in Europe, but oh my goodness, how wonderful not to have to fear for our lives anymore, and how wonderful that we actually have real opportunities here to find work and income. I don't even miss home anymore. I'm just so relieved to be able to be normal again. Yes, I love South Africa, Cape Town, our family, friends, and all our memories of good times had back at home. But I have no desire to return there to live. Unless some miracle happens and South Africa becomes a wonderful place it has the potential to be, with all races living in harmony and people respecting one another. But I can't see that happening in the next few generations. So, not in my time, or even my son's. We will go there on holiday to see our family, yes, but that's all. The ANC have ruined our country with their reverse racism, corruption and greed. They did not free anyone when they took over the country. Things just simply went from white racism to now black racism, with coloured people still belonging nowhere. And this is a very, very important point that she raises here, where she says, with coloured people still belonging nowhere. Now, you know, the real victims in this whole story are the coloured people in South Africa and the Griqua. You know, they are descendants of the original inhabitants of South Africa. They are descendants of the original inhabitants of South Africa who lived there for thousands of years, the Khoisan and the San, or the Khoi and the San, Khoisan. These Bantu people invaded their lands from the north. And when Malema talks about Africa being one big continent and no borders and just one big state, he's putting that furphy up because he knows the truth that the Bantu people invaded southern Africa. They exterminated all the Khoi and the San that they came across in the KwaZulu-Natal region. They had no pity at all. Look no further than what Shaka did to the other Bantu people. And you understand that there is a mantra of violence. And you look at what's happening in South Africa today, nothing has changed. There's still the mantra of violence. Farm murders, farm attacks, all that sort of shit that goes on. Nothing has changed. But let's get back to the plight of the coloured people and the Griqua people. You know, under apartheid, they were treated as lower forms of society. Okay, rather like the blacks, but maybe a little bit higher. But they were never treated as the ruling white class. They were way down the scale. You know, they never had the opportunities. Come in the ANC government, and you know what they've done? They've treated the coloured people the same way. It's a complete disgrace, as they are the direct descendants, many of them, of the Khoi and the San peoples that were the first inhabitants of South Africa. And you'll notice one thing, that Ramaphosa and none of his predecessors have actually acknowledged that the Khoisan peoples were the original landowners in South Africa. That's problematic to them because it doesn't fit with the furphy that the whites kicked them off their land in South Africa. And that is a complete lie. So what they're trying to suggest is that the Khoisan peoples and the coloured people are the same as the blacks, but only where it's politically expedient. Now let's get this very clear. When they're the same as the blacks, it comes to land ownership. But when it comes to BEE, guess what? They are ostracized. They can't get jobs just like the whites because they are not the Bantu, black, Nguni people. Now, you can't have your cake and eat it. And that's what they're trying to do. This whole simple thing that I'm trying to spell out here is that when it suits the Bantu people, the ANC government and the Malemas and the Andilis and all these losers who are out there trying to make a name for themselves, when it suits them, oh no, the coloureds are black people. You know, they're black people because they're talking about expropriation of land with compensation. But built into the policy of the South African ANC government is BEE, which excludes those very people they claim are black people. You know who the only people who are black, apart from the Bantu and Nguni, the various tribes, are the Chinese, who are honorable blacks. Now you explain that to me. Where the hell did the Chinese become black people? You know, they're doing that because they don't have to worry about BEE. That's what it's all about. So, you know, getting back to this lady's email, I'm sorry, I just had a bit of a rant there because it really pisses me off. Because I know a lot of the Griqua community and a lot of their leadership, and they are the most beautiful, kind, community-based people. They don't commit murders. They support each other. You just have to go to Kranshoek near Plettenberg Bay. If you live in Plettenberg Bay, please, it's traveling east. You go past the Sun Hotel, and you go east, and you'll actually see a signboard going to Kranshoek. And go and have a look at the Kranshoek settlement, which is a Griqua settlement. It's a unique place in South Africa. Okay, let me just get back to her email. I'm sorry, I got totally off topic. And she says, okay, I'll just start that paragraph again. The ANC ruined our country with their reverse racism, corruption and greed. They did not free anyone when they took over the country. Things simply went from white racism to now black racism, with coloured people still belonging nowhere. And this is what I've just been talking about. And quite frankly, I, as a so-called coloured person, if I had to choose, I'd rather have the white racism back instead of living in the black racism hell which now exists. Of course, ideally, I don't want any racism at all. But if things are going to be ping-ponged back and forth between white and black racism, then I choose white. It is infuriating what has become of my beautiful, beloved country. If I was Superwoman, I'd fly there with a humongous flamethrower and just bloody mow down all those hardcore racists, the ANC, the EFF, and all the other greedy one-brain cell dumbasses, and get rid of the country of this huge destructive cancer, once and for all. Guns don't seem to work as protection anymore, so I say farmers get some bloody huge flamethrowers and bry them when they come for you on your farms and your families and workers. And then she gets a bit expletive, so I'll leave that bit out. And she says, pardon my French, you're forgiven, sweet lady. And she says, but I am not Superwoman, I am just me and can do little more than take a vote away from these poopholes, which I did, and then run like hell away from it all before it destroys me and mine too, which I did. Now I sit here and worry about our loved ones and the other good people left behind in what becomes basically a crap hole. Cry, my beloved country, now has that meaning for me, but not what it was meant to mean. I now cry for my beloved country, and I swear a lot, helplessly, at the monsters who did this and who are continuing to do this. May the devil shove huge pineapples up your asses, non-stop, when you meet him one day, because you surely will. Amen. Stay safe, praying for all the good people in South Africa. God bless. You know, these sort of comments that are coming across this channel, and, you know, I'm going to put my email below this video, are so important because they're records of people's personal experiences, and we need to put that out there in the public. There's one common denominator. You've got an invading force that is there by fraud. It's the black African people and the ANC who are now claiming This land is their own. They don't own it. They are a Trojan horse. Anyone who knows the story about the Trojan horse knows that it's how an invading force comes in by stealth and then just claims the place. Now, if you don't know what the Trojan horse is, just go to Google and type that in and you'll very quickly find out. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell to get the updates, a little black line on each side, and have a great day.